Welcome to State of the Offense, your fantasy football news source for your favorite team, the Houston Texans. Welcome to State of the Offense, your unbiased coverage of your favorite team's offense, the Houston Texans. At this point of the year, while much is unknown and unproven, I believe that fans of the Texans should be optimistic about their offense going into the 2023 season. Last year, the Texans finished 31st in total offense, 25th in passing, 31st in rushing, and 30th in scoring, which earned them a 3-13-1 record. In the skill positions, Davis Mills, Dameon Pierce, and Nico Collins are the prominent returnees from last season. The Texans are undergoing a major offensive overhaul as number 2 overall pick C.J. Stroud, free agents Devin Singletary, Robert Woods, Dalton Schultz, and 2022 draftee John Mechie will be expected to be the new faces of the offense. Most fantasy football shows will only mention skill players, but at State of the Offense, we look at the entire offensive unit. We start in the trenches by analyzing the condition of the offensive line first. It all starts at the snap of the football on the line of scrimmage. Laremy Tunsil is one of the best left tackles in the NFL. He graded out at a 92 last year and played in 100% of the snaps. Tunsil was the number 5 overall left tackle in the league in 2022. The Texans have him secure under contract for the next few years. Second-year guard and former Texas A&M Aggie, Kenyon Green, returns at left guard. As a rookie, Green graded at a 70, which placed him as the 21st rated left guard in the game. Young offensive linemen typically don't reach their peaks until their third seasons, so the Texans are counting on Green's continuous improvement to create a stellar left side. Scott Quessenberry's first season as a Texan did not go over well. After 4 seasons with the Chargers, Quessenberry graded at a 67, which is a backup level grade. If Quessenberry starts again at the center position, he would be a bottom 5 starter in the league. Fortunately for the Texans, Juice Scruggs was brought in to shore up the position. Scruggs is currently listed as the projected starting center on the depth chart ahead of Quessenberry. I project Scruggs to perform at about a 73 level as rookie starter, which would place him in the 18 to 21 range of starting centers in the NFL. Shaq Mason was signed in free agency to start at right guard for the Texans. After 7 seasons in New England, Mason reunited with Tom Brady in Tampa in 2022. He graded at an 84, which was good enough for the number 6 right guard in the league. He also played 99.9% of the snaps. The Texans have him secured for 2023, and he will be a free agent in the offseason a year from now. 2019 first-round pick Titus Howard is playing on his 5th-year option at right tackle. Last year, Howard graded at a 75, which was at the league average for starting right tackles. Howard's 2023 season will decide his trajectory for his career. If he blossoms, the Texans' offensive line will become a team strength. If not, there is a possibility that the Texans will have to replace the right side of the line a year from now. For a third-round pick, Davis Mills has produced relatively well at the quarterback position. Unfortunately for the Texans, it has not translated into anything other than below-average results. The Texans decided to make 2 moves at the position, which puts Mills' stay in jeopardy. Not only did the Texans draft Ohio State quarterback C.J. Stroud with the 2nd pick in the draft, they also brought Case Keenum back for his 3rd stint with the franchise. C.J. Stroud has excellent accuracy and elite ball placement as a passer. In the college playoffs against Georgia, he showed an ability to move that was previously unseen. I personally like Stroud more than I like Bryce Young from what I saw each of them do against the Georgia defense in pressure games. There has been some questions about Stroud's decision-making ability in the pocket. Bryce Young is considered a better decision maker in the pocket. But I believe that if Texans offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick's record in San Francisco is an indicator, the Texans will put Stroud in positions to do what he does best. After all, he guided Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy to NFC Championship appearances. Stroud as a rookie will see peaks and valleys. That makes him a risky fantasy option, but long term, he may end up being the best quarterback in this draft class. In dynasty leagues, I would draft Stroud with ease in the first round of any format because I believe that Stroud is the safest of the 2023 quarterbacks. In a redraft league, I would probably leave Stroud alone. The receiving corps in Houston will be considerably different from last year. Third-year wide receiver Nico Collins is the top producing player returning to the group. Nico Collins has size, speed, and athleticism to become an NFL #1 wide receiver, but his production has been restricted due to the poor quality of the Texans' passing game. If he builds better chemistry with either C.J. Stroud or Case Keenum than he did with Davis Mills, watch out, you might have a big year from Collins coming. None of the Texans' wide receivers have any draft cachet at the moment. Collins is ranked as the 55th wide receiver drafted, John Mechie the 66th, Robert Woods the 74th, and Tank Dell the 79th. All of the Texan receivers are getting drafted between the 13th and 15th rounds of fantasy drafts. This is mainly due to non-Texans fans not trusting or knowing much about the direction of the franchise. If you see someone like Nico Collins or John Mechie click in camp or in the preseason, use that information and steal one of them late. Robert Woods has been overrated in fantasy for a while now. I would not draft Woods at all this fall. Dalton Schultz and Noah Brown both took a trip down the I-45 south from the Cowboys this offseason to the Texans. Both played well last season, but there's a huge difference between what Dak was for them as opposed to what they will have in a new quarterback in 2023. Brown virtually has no fantasy value at the moment. Schultz is currently the tight end 11 in drafts on ESPN, and that would project him at around a 9th round pick. That is probably where he should go, but you're probably better off going with an elite tight end early, like a Travis Kelce, a Mark Andrews, or Kittle much earlier in the draft. Dameon Pierce exceeded all expectations as a rookie. He dominated the Texans' backfield last year. The Texans believe in him enough to have not drafted a running back. The Texans did sign Devin Singletary away from Buffalo to be the #2 running back on the team. I would expect Singletary to have a bigger role in the offense than either Royce Freeman or Rex Burkhead had last year because he's a better player. So I'm probably not as excited about drafting Pierce this year. Pierce is currently the 20th running back drafted. Singletary is the 42nd. That means that most fantasy people look at Pierce as a starting fantasy running back. The Texans ranked 31st in rushing last year, mainly because they were behind on the scoreboard. How likely is it that the Texans will have games where they can run the ball with a lead in 2023? Dameon Pierce is currently going as a 5th rounder. That is a running back desperation type pick that will not pay off. Focusing on the Texans' passing game will probably pay more fantasy dividends in 2023 than their running backs would. Considering the recent track record of the Houston offense, most fantasy players will not draft Texans early or often. That is a good thing for you as a Texans fan. They will ignore the Texans situations and just assume that last year's performers are the only ones worth drafting. The value of Texans players will be based on the type of rookie year C.J. Stroud ends up having. If he emerges as a quality player in year 1, then the values of his receivers goes up with him. Players like Stroud and Mechie have enough of a prospect pedigree that they can be assumed to be talented enough to have good rookie seasons. Some other talented players like Nico Collins and Dalton Schultz may outproduce what their perceived values are. Dameon Pierce is going to be the Texan generating most attention this fall. Get running backs from other teams where you lessen the temptation to draft Pierce early. Maybe you can get lucky if you wait a round or two if he slides to the 7th or 8th round, but the 5th round is too high considering how the Texans roster is currently constructed. Overall, I think that the Texans had no choice but to change the direction of the franchise again. In the NFL, the quarterback position makes all the difference. When you have a Mahomes or a Brady, you have a chance to win a title. If you have a Davis Mills or a Case Keenum, you have a decent backup who's starting. Backups don't win titles in any area of football except special teams. The Texans' future is better simply because they have found a guy that the organization believes in that can take them to new heights. If C.J. Stroud turns out to be a playoff level quarterback, 2023 will represent a major turning point in this franchise. If you like today's coverage of the Houston Texans offense, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel.